So he says, working from the inside, we're talking about this formula, just reviewing it. Working from the inside out, consider this fragment, this part. And so what does this do? It adds up, it finds the month. Okay. The month function returns the month of a date. And column A consists of dates after the second row. When you apply the month function to an array of dates, as it's done here, you get an array of month numbers. So when we array apply this, we get out an array. And it's the months, we get the numbers for the months for this entire range of cells. So it might look like, do I want to, okay. Well, I don't want to visualize it, but okay. That's one reason for the formula must be entered as an array. The month function normally expects to evaluate a single date, not a whole array of them. Array entering the formula alerts Excel to the possibility that a function that normally takes a single value, takes means you can put in a single value, will be taking multiple values. We're going to input multiple values. That month fragment then is surrounded by an if function. The if function tests whether the month numbers returned by month equal the number in this cell. In figure 1.9, this cell contains the number 8. We saw that already. The 8th month, or August. So the if function begins by converting all those month numbers from what we got from here to true and false values. In other words, if the month is equal to this, it'll be true. If it's not, it'll be false. So we say that it converts it to true and false values, depending on whether the month returns 8 or not. The next argument in the if function, in this case, is this range. Remember what this range is? This is the zeros and ones that indicate whether a book, either a soft cover book or a Kindle book, was sold. That range contains ones and zeros calculated from the changes in the sales ranking. Remember how he infers or guesses that a book was sold or not. Remember, he has that formula which says if the ranking changes by 10%. So that's where those ones and zeros come from. But then we have those ones and zeros in there, and we now are putting that's the second function, the second argument in the if function. Those ones and zeros are retained if by the if given that the logical test month equals 8 is true. So if it is the 8th month, we're going to keep the ones and zeros. On the other hand, if it's not the 8th month, we're going to do what? Replace that row in JK with 0. The if function retains any row where the month of the date in column A is 8, and in that case it holds on to the values found in columns J and K. What if a date in column A does not fall in the month of August? Then the logical test posed by the if function fails, and the third argument, 0, is used. Here's the formula that he's discussed so far. Okay, so this is just what we've done, so what he's just explained so far. This. More briefly, if the dates in column A are in the month shown here, which is 8 in this case, use the associated values in column J and K, otherwise use the number 0. Finally, surround the fragment with the sum function. So now we're going to sum the whole thing up. And that's going to tell us how many books were sold in August in this case. That is, take the sum of the values in columns J and K if they were observed during August, using 0 instead if they were observed during the other month. And then same thing. Now what's this? The same formula adjusted to total two different columns is used in cell U5238. So now he's using what? He's just using, instead of JK, he's using LM. Here we total the values found in the columns L and M if the associated date is from what, but I don't know what L and M are. He says the columns L and M contain sales estimates for a different book than columns J and K. So he's just doing the same thing but for a different book. You've probably noticed that a book gets two columns because there's a paperback edition as well as a Kindle edition of each. Then he says column V has the sum of these two. I don't know why he wants the sum of these two, because they're two different books, but that's what he gets. And column W calculates the average number of books sold during the month, average per day, I guess, because he divides by 31. This calculation is a little tricky during the current month. Okay, let's not go into these details. You know, he's going to say that during the current month you don't really want to divide by 31 because there, you know, suppose we're on, like today is actually September 9th. I'm doing this on September 9th. So if I looked at the total sales up to September, in September, I don't want to divide by 31 because only 9 days have passed. So that would, if I divide by 31, it would be too, I'd be dividing by too much. I want to divide by something like 9. So here he says he's doing something to adjust for that. So he says, I don't want to divide by 31 before we reach the end of the month. Well, you can read this if you want. I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, the formula might not be completely obvious, but the idea is certainly obvious. Okay, so we have now talked about that array enter formula, and he's using that just to, and wasn't so important actually, but it's good to understand how the array enter stuff works. So I think it's a good example because of that. And he's using it to get the sales for each month. So he keeps it, gets a tally like that. There are lots of other ways you could do this, but it's good to learn about the array enter methods. Okay, so we have now. Okay, so next we're going to go into the Visual Basic code, and that's going to take a little time to get through. Now hopefully you have studied Visual Basic already, although I'm going to try and explain it as though you haven't studied it, but without going into too much detail. Okay, now this Visual Basic code is going to basically go and use that function that we saw before, where you can go and get the data, collect the data from the web page, or collect all the text from a web page and put it into your spreadsheet. It's going to automate that, and it's also going to automate the part where it finds the number that we were looking for. Remember, we're looking for the total ranking. After we collect the data from Amazon and we put it in our spreadsheet, we're looking for the ranking. Remember, I had to do a little search to find that, but we want to do it automatically, so we have to write some code for that. Okay, so we'll stop here.